it was that realization that like I created all of this in some way, shape, or form. It's mostly unconscious, right? How we end up there. But then within that realization is also our liberation. Like, okay, therefore I can create whatever I want moving forward. And you can take accountability and responsibility for your choices. And that's becoming an adult. You know, until we come to that point, I'm sorry, but you are living in child consciousness.
Welcome to the TripSitting Podcast, where we explore what it means to be human. And this is also the only podcast that is recorded while in ceremony with the sacred mushroom. And shit, I'm already getting emotional just talking about this. This is what I've wanted this podcast to be ever since I started doing this. And so anybody that's listening or watching, thank you for coming along on this journey with me, and thank you for joining us in this. We want to create a place that's full of love, gratitude, and joy, and most importantly, just where people can feel safe feeling whatever it is that needs to be felt, and knowing that whatever those feelings are going to be met with light and with love and with acceptance. And so I'm really happy to be bringing this to anybody who might be listening today. To kind of set the stage here, my guest and I took 5 grams of mushrooms probably about 4 hours ago at this point, and we've been sitting in ceremony together, allowing whatever came up to come up and co-creating this space together. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest, who is James. James helps healthcare professionals overcome burnout so they can I just forgot it.
You good, man.
Finish that for me.
Yeah, I got you. Thank you for the introduction. I'm James Thompson, and I am a holistic health and lifestyle coach, and my niche is helping fellow healthcare professionals overcome burnout so that they can be their best and thrive in life outside of work.
It's beautiful. And beyond that, and this is where my mind was already going, but like, James is a fucking dear brother of mine, one who I have sat in ceremony with before, and truly one of my best friends on the face of this planet. And I am so grateful to you for trusting me and creating this space, and wanting to co-create this with me, and just kind of seeing where it goes. So this is going to be a really special episode, as they all are, but this one holds a very, very special place in my heart as being the first kind of relaunch of this thing. And we set our intention before this as far as how we wanted this conversation to go, and it was to inspire others through story and relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to be the basis of this podcast, wherever that might lead us, but it's with the hopes of inspiring others through story and relationship. And to I guess to kick this off, James, how did we get here?
Yeah,
in your best words, how the fuck did we get here?
Great question, man. Yeah, we the two of us, we met just about 2 years ago. We both moved here to Colorado from Ohio, and became quick friends. Both transplants into the beautiful state of Colorado, and I remember the first time I looked at you, and our friend Danielle just hyped you up for a long time, and the first time I looked at you, I was like, that's my new homie. Especially being so fresh, to the state and uprooting one's life and come to this new beautiful realm. But man, that's the origins of our friendship, and we've had so many just expansive, beautiful experiences since then along the road. And I'm I just want to say I'm humbled and very honored to be your first guest in this setting. Being on mushrooms still. I mean, for the record, we're both pretty sober at this point, but still technically. And
I think it's also worth mentioning too that we are in the state of Colorado, where using natural medicines is protected by the state as something that we are completely allowed to do. So this is completely legal, which is fucking crazy.
No doubt, pioneers.
I mean, man, growing up, drugs were definitely something that, well, one, mushrooms in my mind was that's a drug. It wasn't a medicine. It wasn't something that could be healing or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, just looking around in the space that we're in, just so much gratitude for the fact that we get to do something like this, and we get to be in this space, and also honoring how sad it is that I've gone most of my life believing that this is wrong, and believing that this is using medicines like this to connect with ourselves and connect with our essence is not something that we're allowed to do.
Yeah. And that's also an invitation to others who might not have explored this path to see what is possible. The innate healing potential that Mother Earth has for us, through these sacred medicines. It's all available to us. And take it from me, I'm a registered nurse of 7 years, so.
I think one of the biggest things, these medicines remind me every single time, it's never giving me new information. It's always coming back to ourselves and coming back to our wholeness. And I know that through your work, what you're doing right now and helping people, that's a really big aspect of what you do. So I'd love for you to be able to expand on how you help people overcome burnout, but as a through that coming back to themselves and coming back to what really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is a remembering. I think that's the key word. Remembering who we are as we're born into the world, as or children. It's such a pure state, right? And I believe that we each individually have an innate genius and gift to offer to the world. And the world, our society, wish-washes that out of us. There's so much program and indoctrination that goes on that makes that unclear throughout our lives, and we're told to be someone, and it can lead us on paths and lead us to points where we might not want to be. But I think if you're someone who probably listens to this podcast, then you realize that there's more out there, and you're probably seeking for more expansiveness. And so a bit of my method. So like I mentioned, registered nurse for 7 years, and I've been a board certified nurse coach for about I would say 4 years now. I think it was 2021 I got that certification, and then along the path, I've gotten some other certifications, expanded my expertise, really just like expanded myself, you know. I wouldn't have studied anything or gained any credentials or anything like that unless I was seeking to overcome a problem within myself first and foremost, and then conversely I get to offer that to other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm a student of the Czech system. Paul Chek completed his holistic lifestyle coach level 2 training, and so through that, along with the nurse coaching philosophy, I've created kind of like my own synthesis of the two in a unique way. You know, I think all coaches are unique, right? But why did I pick healthcare professionals? Well, because that was me, and I was very burnt out and at a previous time, and so I deeply understand what that is like, and yeah, so the certifications that I have allow me to connect with people where they're at, and I know that's a dark place when you're in burnout, and especially like with healthcare professionals. It's yeah, I come back to the programming and indoctrination. Like, we're trained to think one way, you know, and that leads us to an unsatisfying end. I'll put it that way, or unsatisfying process.
Could you expand on like what did that actually feel like for you? Like when you experienced burnout, like what was that like being in that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, there's multiple factors. Like we end up there in a state of burnout from events in our life. That's what it was for me. There was really compounding events in my life that made being a nurse in that system unsustainable and deeply unfulfilling anymore. So I came into that profession to want to help people, and you know, just so fascinated by science and the human body and the way it all works, you know, an inclination towards that, and yeah, just an urge to genuinely help people, especially when they needed it most, right? And so as a nurse, I was doing that for quite some time, and I mean, that's what we do, right? You help people in the ways that you're able to within that system.
Yeah.
But it's with drugs, and you know, I think the most profound support we can give is the emotional support, you know, just being there for somebody. But yeah, the being in the rut of like, I know I can help people in such a greater way, and I don't want to just be like essentially like a glorified drug dealer anymore. And
I've never been obviously a healthcare professional, nor do I really know the ins and outs of the system, but like in my mind it almost seems like if somebody ends up in your care, like that's already sort of too late.
yeah.
Like so much shit has already gone so poorly to put them there to begin with that, like, you know, at that point you can kind of do your best, but like you're not really ever fixing or like addressing the real problem that got them there to begin with.
Exactly. That's such a good point. And yeah, it's like I always had the analogy of just like the hole is dug too deep, you know, at that point. When, I mean, in reality, like you could be on death's bed and, you know, there's spontaneous healings that can occur, right? Anybody can overcome any physical ailment. It really doesn't matter. I've seen evidence in so many cases of just profound healing, but that's a great point. I mean, And that's why I've transitioned to more of the preventative side, right? But yeah, to circle back to like what burnout was like for me. So yeah, I think I painted the picture a bit of like just being in that rut and like not really being fulfilled, knowing that I want to help people in a more profound way. And also a big thing is like people who actually want to be helped. That's a huge thing as a nurse, that you so many patients that are just like, it's almost like they're happy to be in that circumstance. And it's like frequent flyers was like a term. But yeah, there was compounding factors for my burnout. My father passed away in 2021. During that time, I was working on the quote-unquote front lines as a travel nurse during the COVID era. And yeah, that really was the catalyst for like my burnout. Like I couldn't do it anymore. I tried for a bit, especially being in the setting in which my father passed away. I was able to do it for some time longer, and was able to balance it in ways, but also just this undeniable sense of like, this is no longer my path. I've learned the lessons that I have to learn here, and continuing it, working in this system in this way, will only lead to my detriment. And it's like a suppressing of what I know is my soul's potential.
That's deep.
Yeah.
I want you to go deeper though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like what made you, I guess, really realize that you could then like make that change, or like get out of it? Like, what was that process then like when you're at that point where you realize, yo, shit, I can't do this any longer? Like, what did you then do at that point to get yourself out of it?
Focus on my health, really.
Yeah.
That's where we must begin. That is it. That's also my belief that we end up in burnout because of neglecting health, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual. There's some imbalance that leads to a state of burnout. And so that's what it was for me. Like I mentioned before, it was that suppressing, like, I think it really was more spiritual and emotional for me. My sense of burnout, the emotional fatigue, and yeah, the knowing that like, this is no longer for me. And well, how did I get out of that? It was really dialing in on my just foundational health practices, meditation, proper nutrition, hydration, making sure my thoughts are serving me. At the time I was definitely bypassing emotions. That had been a pattern for me throughout my life of just internalizing, not expressing what needs to be expressed. And that adds a lot of weight, and just like that heaviness definitely contributed. But dialing in on those foundational health principles, and then also what allowed me to come out of burnout, because again, burnout looks different for everybody, right? Different factors, different health imbalances. For me, it was hope for this new future that I can create for myself, and the thought of, or idea of being a leader in this sense, of setting an example for how to be a healthy person, especially as a healthcare professional. That's a very, very, statistics are alarming. It's just like how unhealthy healthcare professionals are. It's insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. And kind of like circling back to one of the points that you talked about, like how you were someone that like internalized a lot of your emotions. I know that like stoicism has been something that's like a part of your life. And it's like funny, I'm kind of sitting here and like feeling your energy, and like you still have like this very stoic sense to you of like very neutral, very calm. And like to me, I'm like, I just can't always do that, especially not on mushrooms. Like, but like, do you think that can, I don't know, sort of end up like turning against you and like end up being like a crutch to like essentially internalize and not actually give you a reason to like process the emotions?
It certainly can, but that pattern was already with me like long before. That's like from my childhood, you know. But yes, like Stoic philosophy in specific, I can see how one can use it that way, and that's something that I've meditated on in specific, like okay, so the sense of like equanimity, like always being okay with like no matter what happens, right? Finding equal balance between like the lowest lows and the highest highs, right? And the hard part is in Stoic practice is to balance yourself with the highs, right? It's very helpful during the lows to you know, bring yourself up, or to ways to reflect on whatever situation is happening, to realize how it is happening for you, right? The obstacle is the way. But yeah, in specific with like one's emotions, there's so much more nuance to it, right? And Stoic philosophy is more of a mental practice, if you are a philosophy. So it's part of the picture, but yeah, if one was only operating within that mindset, it's limited for sure. And so yeah, I had to expand beyond that, but it's a deep part of me and something I come back to. But eventually I did feel limited by those teachings.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to transition like in talking about like what we just did, like this whole fucking ceremony, and you know, if you want to talk a little bit about like what were your intentions going into this before we did it, and maybe some of the things that came up for you today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So my intentions were to remember my sense of self-love and deepen it. You know, that's something that's like it's in my conscious awareness on a daily basis, but out of much practice to this point. Like,
I also love the way that he like writes out his intentions. Like you got like a whole notebook, and they're like 3 paragraphs long.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Like my intention's like a sentence, and then like he's like got this whole very well thought out, like well written thing. I'm like, shit, that's crazy.
I appreciate that, but I do it that way on purpose, especially with intentions. So like if we want an intention or an outcome, we have to write it and speak it in the present or past tense. Or actually, yeah, especially the past tense, because it's like you have to train your nervous system and also cultivate forth the emotions of the event or intention that you're seeking, right? Like make it a reality, feel into it, speak it into existence as if it's already happened. And so that's why I do it that way. And yeah, just kind of, it just flows once I start writing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, yeah, just to deepen like my sense of self-love through forgiveness, compassion, gratitude, and yeah, there's some other layers beyond that.
Yeah. So then what came up for you, like during the ceremony?
Yeah, man. Like we were saying earlier, the front end of the ceremony, the mushrooms presented to me like the things that I was afraid of. So like fears of failure, or fears of being seen, or even the fear of success, you know. Those were some things that became pretty present that I was feeling into, loving into, really. And through doing so, I was able to loosen up and see the freedom and potential, you know, beautiful opportunities that can exist on the other side of that fear. Because it's like fears are something that we must honor. You know, there's a time where I was like, yeah, I'm not afraid of anything. but that's just like, that's like bypassing it in a way.
Yeah.
Fear is so fucking natural, and it is something that we must all honor. And if you think that you're not afraid of anything, then you're just not looking deep enough, you know, or feeling deep enough, because it's just part of who we are as humans, and it's a protection mechanism, right? Like fear of success, failure, being seen, it wants to keep me safe, you know. It's all like a extension of my ego. And the trick is to like just love into that, and that looks like just feeling with your heart. Like if it helps to just visualize in your own body your heart, and especially in those moments where the fear is coming up, just feel that space, and allow the energy to move through there, and just let it be. You know, it's amazing how brief that can be, to release fears that we can hold on to for so long, day in and day out. And yeah, I'll also say it's not like a one-time thing, you know, it's a process that we have to keep doing.
Yeah. Our mind like can so easily just like, we start getting into these patterns of like not wanting to feel the fear, like not wanting to feel the like unpleasant emotion, because like, you know, it is uncomfortable. Like if you sit there and feel it again, like if you allow yourself to sit there and feel it, like eventually it will pass, and like, you know, you'll move on to the next one. But like, I don't know, just like the thought of going into like, oh shit, I'm about to be real sad for a second, like I think I'd rather not. Like, you know, your mind kind of creates these like ways of moving around it, so you just don't have to ever feel that. And like, you get so good at it. Like you get so good at not feeling that, like you don't even realize how often you're going through and not feeling the things that like need to be felt. And like, I don't know, something that kind of came up for me at the beginning of this is like, I remember when I was growing up, and you know, I sort of like put on this facade of like just like not caring. And I think that like, even in like society, when we see people that just like don't care about things, like those people are like cooler, you know, for not caring any of that. So like I kind of like wanted to almost emulate that and not care. And like, again, my subconscious, I got so good at not caring about all of these things that I didn't realize like how much I was storing up within my own body. And like, shit, I care so much. Like I care so much about so many fucking things that like it is painful sometimes. Like like it fucking hurts to care so much about like, I don't know, wanting the people around me to actually like feel better, and like wanting society at large to be like working together and moving in a direction that like actually serves all of us.
Yeah.
And that like it can be fucking exhausting, like caring so much so deeply all the time.
Yeah.
And I certainly get exhausted from it sometimes, like I do, and like still probably don't want to admit how much I really do care about certain things. And like it's hard because, you know, I want what's best for people and I want what's best for the people around me, but I also know that I can't be preaching at them and telling them what to do, because that's just like a reflection of my own image and my own experiences onto another person.
Right.
Like it's not actually holding space and allowing them to go through their process. But it'd be fucking exhausting when you just watch people do the same shit over and over and over again, and they feel like shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, fucking stop.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I can 100% relate. That was like me to a T during my teenage years. Like I just didn't give a shit, you know, and it was cool. And
yeah, you were tight.
Yeah, exactly. I was a cool guy. It worked out.
I was not cool. Let me make that very clear. I turned into a douche. That's what happened, is I started being a dick to everybody around me because I didn't want to actually feel like love from anyone, because like then it'd be vulnerable, and like then it'd be real, then they'd see like the real me.
Yeah.
And like I, you know, couldn't accept that version of me, so like how could I let anybody else see that if I was so like ashamed of it?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Fuck. There's so much you said there that I want to expand on, but I'll let you guide.
I mean, I don't really have a spot where like I'm going with this, but like right now in this moment, like I feel so much gratitude and like so much joy and like so much love, and that gratitude just stems from like being right here right now, and like with all of those things. And like I'm so happy that I did gather up the courage at some point in my life to try to figure out what was wrong, because I mean, like you, like I was very burnt out from my job. Again, very different job. I was working in tech sales. Yeah. So not on like, you know, the front lines during a global pandemic or anything like that, but I was slinging SaaS, dude, and that shit gets stressful.
SaaS as in like the
services as software.
Yeah, right. Software.
Yeah, like I mean, I couldn't keep doing that. Like I knew, and I did the things that I wanted to do in life, which was have money. Like, that was kind of my only goal. Like growing up, it seemed like my only way out of the circumstances, and like my parents did their best. Like I don't want to like put any hate on them or anything like that. Like they did their best, but like money seemed like it was always such a struggle. And in my mind, it was okay, if I get that, the struggle's done. Like I can live, I can be happy. Yeah. And then I got that, and I still was not happy. Yeah, man. I was like at this point where I'm like, well, fuck, like this is it. Like I don't know what's next. And like I'm glad I realized that trying to just keep getting more and more money was not gonna get me to where I wanted to go. And like, you know, I had to fucking go within.
Yeah, totally, man. I'm happy you brought that out, because like fucking same during my upbringing, you know, we were dirt poor. Like my parents were bankrupt at a time, and yeah, like not like there's definitely worse poverty out there, but it would have been considered poverty. You know, we were paycheck to paycheck, and money was always scarce, right? So yeah, I think it was when I was in like college, I'm like set a big dream to like, I will retire my parents and I will end that cycle within my family of scarcity and create generational wealth. And yeah, just the part of like chasing money is hits the home so deep, because like when I was working as a travel nurse, I was making great fucking money, dude, like 6 figures for sure. But also the paradox is that was also like when I was the most unhappy too, you know. Like that couldn't have changed any of the other circumstances, right? It allowed me to invest in my health and, you know, create more opportunities, right? But I wouldn't have done those things unless I knew there was more, you know. And that was during that time it was like definitely woke up spiritually. Prior to that, I'd been an atheist, for agnostic, you know, between those two for like all of my adolescent teenage years. And during COVID, just like massive disillusionment with fucking everything. Like, it's all a lie. It's all in so many ways.
It's funny. I definitely consider myself agnostic. So I mean, I grew up Jewish, and then had my bar mitzvah, pieced out of that, and then I was like, was atheist and then like agnostic, and like I'm thinking back on it, I think like agnostic is such like a cop-out thing for people that just like don't want to have to actually fucking think about what they are.
Exactly.
Just like it's fucking anything.
Don't know,
like,
don't care.
Yeah, exactly. like don't know, don't care. Like you do care,
right? But
you're just like you're putting on this like facade of not caring. Like back to what we were talking about earlier. Yeah. It's like like I just want to pretend like I'm somebody who doesn't actually give a fuck. But like we are all seeking some sort of like spiritual path. Like I truly believe like we are spirits that are down here on this earth to have this human experience. So like at our innate core, we are spiritual beings, and we want to find that spiritual path that works for us. And so many of us are probably born into and indoctrinated into this path that doesn't work for most of us. I think we'd have a much friendlier society if it did. Like we're taught this. We're taught that love has conditions, and like we grow up really believing that. Like even without even realizing that we do. Like I know that was certainly my experience. Like it wasn't until I sat with ayahuasca and like had to literally sit there like on a toilet shitting my brains out and puking at the exact same time, like sort of at my lowest, and also having like this spirit of ayahuasca engulf me in so much love, like in that moment, that I was like, oh, this is love. Like this is what it feels like to actually love myself, is to release all of those things that I was choosing to hold on to. Like it was all the choice.
All the conditions,
like all of the shame, all of the guilt, all of the fear. And like it's hard to face that.
Yeah.
It's hard to like it's hard to accept responsibility for the fact that you're the one that put yourself in these circumstances.
Yeah.
Like it is fucking tough, and that probably will trigger a lot of people.
Yeah.
And yes, there are other factors at play here, but at the end of the day, like there's so many things outside of your control, but you can control how you respond and how you react to these things.
Totally, man.
Like you can't let that shit keep weighing you down just because you're trying to like hold on to this version of yourself that you've built up in your head.
Yeah, you asked me about how did I overcome burnout. Well, like it was that realization that like I created all of this in some way, shape, or form. And it's mostly unconscious, right? How we end up there. But then within that realization is also our liberation. Like, okay, therefore I can create whatever I want moving forward. And you can take accountability and responsibility for your choices. And that's becoming an adult. You know, until we come to that point, I'm sorry, but you are living in child consciousness.
Yeah.
I don't care how old you are. I've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of fucking elderly people who are very much a child.
Yeah.
And all in between, right? And so, but we can wake up to that at any given point. Sometimes it takes the nudge of another person who really cares about you and, you know, loves you, or you have that within you.
Yeah.
You know, like you see someone setting an example and you're like, what am I doing? You know, and like, could I be doing more? Or like, what are they doing differently? Why is my life not as seemingly good as theirs? Or why do they not have these pains like I do? And that person woke up and realized that they can create the life of their choosing, and, you know, accepts and heals their past, comes to peace and knows their inner child, right? That was something that I did the beginning of 2024. Yeah, like just meeting that part of myself, like in such a real and tangible way, was and still is like a foundation to like just my process of individuation and like genuine healing, right? Because until you meet that part of yourself and hold their hand, hug them, love them, tell them it's okay, tell them that they're safe, then, you know, that until you do that, that part of you is probably going to be in the dark somewhere and scared, you know?
Just like waiting to be shown the light. Like that's like our shadows. It's very easy to pretend that they are not there and keep them in the dark. But like they just want to be shown the light and they just want to be like accepted. Like I certainly have. I'm just continuing to realize, and it's continuing to come up for me in beautiful ways, that I still have like a lot of shame around those child parts of myself. Like growing up, I remember all I ever wanted to do was be an adult, and like part of that meant not relying on anybody, like not wanting to accept help from people, saying, you know, being the person that's like, yo, I can do this on my own, I'm resilient, I'm strong, like I can figure this out. And those are all great qualities to have, but like I overdid it. Like I wanted to be so resilient that I was unwilling to ever accept help from anybody. And that like I thought that I had to do it all on my own, and like that if I asked for help or showed that I didn't know what to do, that made me weak. And there, you know, it's still something that I certainly struggle with today, is like meeting those parts of myself like with the love and like accepting them, like accepting that, hey, like maybe I can't do everything on my own, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, man.
I get like emotional like still talking about it, because it's like they just want to be shown love.
Yeah, man. Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to learn how to ask for help, you know?
Yeah.
And I know it's, based off of what I've spoken to so far, it's probably evident, you know, just like the sense of like, you gotta carve the path, and, you know, and cycles, right? And I gotta do this on my own, you know, and it's, it gets lonely when you do that. And
Yeah.
And you realize,
fuck yeah, it is.
you realize like that sense of isolation, you know, it doesn't lead anywhere, and we can't do anything of worth unless we do it with other people, especially like things that benefit the world. You know, expressing like our innate gifts and that sense of genius, like that involves other people inevitably. Like
I don't know if this was your experience, but this just came to me, is that I built up in my ego, I built up this sense of pride around the fact that I could do everything on my own, and the fact that I didn't need to accept help from anybody, and I was so proud of it, and that became part of who I was.
Yeah, part of that complex.
I was so proud of the fact that I didn't need anybody's help, and that became so clear and evident when that got absolutely shattered in that one ayahuasca ceremony of like, that's the ego death right there, of being shown like, hey dummy, like you've been doing this all to yourself the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. And that led you to at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And that's totally fine. Like you have to accept the fact that you've done this. Accept everything that's brought you to these moments right here. But I remember that was such a mind-blowing thing. Like, oh fuck, like I have been doing that. Like I don't accept help from people, and it's because I think that, like, I'm so proud of the fact that I don't do that. And that's such a stupid thing to be proud of. Like, why am I so prideful over the fact that I won't accept anybody's help?
Yeah, I get it, man. That was me as a nurse too. Like, I would only accept help when I really needed it, and I prided myself in my ability to like get the job done and have, you know, like
figure it out if it killed you.
Best patient care. Yeah, like, you know, it's funny at this point.
You can only look back at it and laugh. And part of this work with plant medicine and even this spiritual path, I think going into it, it can be daunting in the sense that it feels like it has to be this serious thing. Like you gotta take this shit real seriously. Like you gotta sit and meditate every morning. You gotta journal. You gotta cold plunge. You gotta sauna. You gotta make sure you're getting good water, and you gotta do this. Like it becomes this dogmatic thing, which is the very thing we're trying to escape, and like doesn't, I think, like allow for some of that nuance sometimes, that it can feel like this whole big thing, but like shit's funny, dog.
Yeah.
Like shit's really funny. I have a great time fighting my demons sometimes.
Yeah, man.
Like, you know, it's not like it's always the easiest thing, but at the end of the day, it always leads to love and gratitude. Yeah. I know that deep within my soul, that this right here, like this space, this energy, this is the essence that we come from. Like this is at the base of the foundation of our being, is this essence of love and gratitude, and everything that takes us away from that are just these systems and structures and, you know, belief systems, whatever it might be, that's made us believe that we're not allowed to just actually exist in this space all the fucking time.
Yeah.
But we are.
Yeah, man.
That's the crazy thing, is we actually are allowed to exist in a space of love and gratitude, no matter how much other shit might be going on in the world, no matter how much seems to be like crumbling apart from your own being or around you, whatever your external circumstances or internal circumstances, you are still always allowed to be gracious.
Yeah.
And like feel that sense of love and belonging. Like I could be crying my eyes out at the same time and still feel so much joy and gratitude for it.
Especially those moments. Yeah, I brought forth this quote. awakening is not changing who you are. It is discarding who you are not.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's something I circle back to. You know, like what part of me is like, what layers have come in that's like, it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we like to become the person that I believe us as souls choose to incarnate for at a specific time, to serve a specific gift to the world. Like, in order to bring that purpose and mission about, we must eliminate the fog on the mirror of, you know, the programming and the beliefs that do not serve us, that are not us. And once you get to the foundation of who you are, it's exactly what you just spoke to.
Yeah.
You know, it's that sense of love. Like, love is the glue of the universe. You know, it makes up all things, even the evil.
Yeah.
You know, evil is a real thing, but it must exist in contrast to the love in order for it to exist. The illusion of duality and this realm. But there's another thing I wanted to mention. So like consciousness, love consciousness exists. So like the first stage is sex and violence, right? And even as children, we exist in that state. Maybe not the sex part, but but the violence, yes. You know, like violence in terms of like the just extreme expression of the highs and the lows.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
I was an angry kid. I was real good at that.
Yeah.
I had frequent anger outbursts that I did not know how to control.
For sure, man. Yeah, me too. And then the next is conditional love.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it's unconditional. And we can have moments of unconditional love. That's what we strive for. But the vast majority of the time, we do exist in conditional love. And we have to honor that, because it's realistic. Like, it's in our relationships. Like, if you're gonna maintain a relationship, it must meet certain standards, right? People,
you have to set boundaries.
Exactly, boundaries, and the way you want to be treated emotionally, and like just the way things must be for a healthy relationship. There's conditions, you know, but we can have those moments of unconditional love to tap into and bring that into the rest, right? Into those conditions to like to bring in forgiveness, or like gratitude, forgiveness for, like, you know, and any, like, your partner seems to have slighted you in some way, right? You can choose to tap into that well of unconditional love manifesting as forgiveness and just let it be. And you can, and
or you can choose to yell at them.
And I was gonna say, or you can choose to.
They're both choices.
Yeah, exactly. Or you can, and also I want to say, like, as we were saying, like, suppressing and internalizing emotions too, right? Like, say in that instance, like, you get really fucking angry, right? Like, let that come forth, you know, express that, because in that expressing, and especially if you do it consciously, like, I'm going to let this rip right now.
Yeah.
But you're aware that you're doing it. You're going to see, even as you're speaking it and expressing it, the folly that it is. Yeah. And that's like a very quick lesson of like, okay, maybe
that's not the best way to go about
maybe I can express my anger in a different way, or tone it back a little bit, you know, but let it fly, you know. And then you can still fall into the forgiveness and, you know, those deeper unconditional love frequencies.
Yeah. It's interesting talking about the idea of the conditional love and moving beyond that into the unconditional love. And like, yes, healthy relationships do have to exist with conditional love, like, meaning that you have to be able to set boundaries with people. Like, you can't let people just stomp all over you or, you know, treat you poorly. You can't forsake your own needs, you know, because you love somebody so much, so you're just gonna let them, like, continue to treat you like shit.
Yeah.
But I think what people don't really understand is, like, just because you love somebody unconditionally doesn't mean that you have to take their shit. Like, you can still love somebody unconditionally from a distance.
Yeah.
Like, totally. And as an act of loving you unconditionally, I'm gonna release you. Like, I'm gonna let you do this and go away and no longer be part of my life. And that's my way of loving you unconditionally, because that's not serving anybody.
Exactly.
Like, you know, it's just allowing that person to keep doing that and keep stirring within their own, whatever the fuck it might be.
It gives the person the opportunity to reflect on why you made those choices.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and you express to them that I still love you, but, like, you know, this isn't whatever's going on isn't serving us, right?
Yeah. I've never been in any, like, long-term relationships other than the one that I'm currently in right now, but it's been very interesting for me just observing how, when relationships like that end, how much animosity there is, like, so often, that those people then express towards the other one.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it doesn't make any logical sense. And I mean, going back to my parents, even, like, my parents got divorced when, I don't know, I was like 2 or something like that. So like, I've only known them as divorced parents, and they did not like each other. They did not get along. They didn't get along. But, and, like, to me, it just seemed like there was so much hate and so much animosity towards the other one that it was hard for me to even fathom, like, did you guys ever actually love each other? And I don't know the answer to that. Like, I don't know if they ever got past the conditional love. It's that, like, I think it was always based on that condition that, you know, I will love you in these circumstances. And the second that was removed, rather than going up towards the unconditional love, I think that they went down towards the violence. Sex and violence. Yeah, towards sex and violence. And I think that's the choice that you have to make in that instance, is, like, when those conditions are broken, which way will you go? But you have to move out of that, either up or down. Yeah. I don't know exactly how that works. I feel like you've probably studied this more than I have, but is that essentially what happens when one of those conditions are broken? Yeah, no, I think you're articulating that very well. Yeah. And I think in that moment, one's ability to move into unconditional love is dependent upon your own ability to love yourself. Right? Like, you can't love anybody more or as much or however, unless you love yourself in that same way. And so if you don't do that, and in that moment, or you don't have that already established with yourself, then I think it will descend. Yeah. You know, like, that's the only choice that you have. Exactly. That's the only. If you have such conditional love for yourself, which growing up, I certainly had very conditional love for myself, that if one of those conditions were broken, my only choice was to go down. Like, I didn't have the capacity to move up into unconditional love. You don't even know it's an option. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How can you if you've never experienced it? Right. If I've never experienced your unconditional love, how can I do that for somebody else? Yeah. It's and then impossible. Expect the other person to do it too. Like, it's silly when you think about it, you know? Yeah. It's fucking silly. But it breeds compassion for you know, any of those circumstances, right? And for the other person. Yeah. You know, it allows you to see, like, understand. It breeds a beautiful moment too of being able to help reparent that part of you that believes in those conditions, and also help reparent, them in a way. Like,
totally.
Like your partners and friends, whatever they are, they're just reflections of yourself at the end of the day. I mean, all of us walking around are just reflections of each other. And so, you could either see it as, you could either feel the emotion that comes along with it and then react to that, or see it for the opportunity that it is, and like,
or both.
Yeah, or both. But like, allow it to alchemize into the unconditional love at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man.
I do want to go back to something that I know is obviously what I'd probably consider a traumatic moment for you, although correct me if I'm wrong, but your dad passing during COVID and from COVID, being a healthcare professional, like, how did that, affect your path at that point?
Yes, it was traumatic. It was the most,
I was right. I was right in thinking that. Cool.
You nailed it. Yeah, it was easily the most traumatic event in my life up to that point. My dad was a leader within our family, deeply passionate and courageous human being, very angry man. His passion came forth in that way, but also he had this tenderness of love, the true he had moments of balancing that, like, divine masculine love, right? And I got that as his son, and it's something that I will always have, and I know he lives through me in so many ways, and I connect to him, in moments. There's just like specific memories that flash forth that I'll come back to, and it brings me to tears, like, every time I visualize and go into those moments. But it's like it gives me strength, losing him was, I don't want to say losing him passing over, because he's not lost,
How was your relationship with him before that?
It's great. It really was great. So I have 3 siblings. I'm the second oldest. Older brother, younger sister, younger brother. And we have a very unique family. We're so close, and just
you guys are close. The fact that your mom goes to dubstep shows is fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shout out Angie.
Yeah, my mom does rave with us. So we're a very close family, but no, man, I always had a great relationship with my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. He taught me so much, mostly through what I didn't want to become, but also a lot in establishing values, right? A strong sense of family, and really defining what that means, and again, like, courage, passion, loving, like, to the fullest extent, just expressing yourself, right, and thinking for yourself. That's a huge thing. I tend to reject authority. Like, definitely comes from him, and but it's served me. It hasn't served me at times, but for the most part, it serves me, because I can see through the illusions of, like, our systems at large, right? And it allows me to think for myself, and identify, I guess really what I'm getting is like have discernment, real discernment for what is true, what is right, and like to define what is right is like what is good for everybody, equitable, and so yeah, man, it was that was the main catalyst to my burnout, but it was also the catalyst to like my spiritual awakening, because prior to that I had begun the disillusionment process, during 2020. Started asking deeper questions and found mentors, and just went on a deep path of studying and going inward and like really honing in on much of what I'm bringing to the world today. Like that was my hermit phase. And so I know I know my father passed over in service of my evolution and my family's.
Yeah.
And that might be hard for some people to grasp or understand, but that is the truth of it, that I've deeply come to understand, and I wouldn't be able to understand that without my like understanding of spirituality. Understanding that there's these lifetimes are just one in billions that we've lived as souls. And this is the current iteration, and in order for me to wake up, bring my gifts to the world, the same opportunity exists for my siblings, and my mom has done some deep healing, and I know she's on that path and has come to realize this in her own terms as well. It's I could see the beauty within it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I grieve him as much as I can.
Yeah.
2 days ago, or yesterday. Yeah, yesterday I came home and certain song that I love just like strikes a chord, the lyrics and the music, and makes me weep. And when that comes, I let it flow and I honor it, because in those moments of grievance, that's when we truly honor the person,
like
the soul that they were.
He's so like alive in that moment, like his soul is like with you.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, just like, one, thank you for opening up about this and talking about it. I can feel how much you honor him, like just from like your entire being is honoring that soul and everything that he gave to you, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, like the whole picture, and being able to hold all of that and move forward with it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful to see, for real.
Yeah, man. I love the moments when I know when I'm acting and behaving like with him through me, like with my fiance. There'll just be like certain moments where I'm like, oh my God, that was Dad.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, man.
Of course, brother.
I really appreciate that. This is something that you touched on a little bit, in the sense that, his passing has allowed you to understand some of your innate gifts that you bring to the world. Like what are those gifts, and how are you bringing those to the world now?
Yeah.
Maybe let's lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's all good.
But take the time and the space that you need to continue to honor what what needs to come up for you.
Mm-hmm. For me, it is that exact thing. It is helping people to bring forth their gifts, to identify them, to clearly state one's dream for your life, however big or small it might appear to you at this time. It's always a work in progress, but to invite that out of other people, and to cultivate a safe, grounded, and open space, open for potential, right? So that's something we have to give permission for ourselves to dream, to like, what do I really want, without limits. Like,
almost feels selfish sometimes. I remember that came up for me during an ayahuasca ceremony, was that I started to picture this kind of dream life I had. I felt like I'm not here to dream. I'm here to deal with traumas and shit. I'm here to fucking take this super seriously. Yeah. And every time I try to move away from it, it was like, nope, fucking dream. think dream, think about what do you actually want in this life? What is it that you want to accomplish? And give yourself give yourself time to actually imagine what that is, and beyond that, feel in every ounce of my body, what would it feel like if you had that, and what would it feel like right now in this moment, and feeling that. And it was kind of the realization that wait, I feel that right now, so if I just allow myself to feel that, I'll then be able to create that life. That's the first step in creating that dream life, is feeling like you already have the dream life.
Yeah. That's part of the art and science of manifestation.
Yeah.
Clarify what it is that you want, write it down, speak it out loud, make sure it's in past tense or even present tense sometimes, and then bring those emotions in. And I have a hard time doing that sometimes myself. There's blockages that can get in the way.
I'm terrible at it, so
I'm no master. But I know enough to speak to it and help others with it. And yeah, man, it's almost counterintuitive.
It almost feels like it's too simple.
Yeah.
I feel like once you kind of understand it, your mind wants to keep finding ways to make you believe that it's not that simple. That it you try to overcomplicate the shit out of it.
That's the programming coming in.
As a way to essentially keep yourself from actually achieving that.
Yeah.
Because if you were to achieve that, your life changes.
Yeah.
Everything the ego knows at that point is fundamentally different.
Exactly.
So it wants to keep you in the same circumstances because that's what's comfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That comfortability breeds complacency, and comfortability breeds disease.
Like physical disease?
Disease in all senses. Dis-ease. Okay. It's staying the same is out of alignment with the way the universe works. That is the only constant, is change. Yeah. And so when we try to stay the same with our current job, way of life, relationships, you will eventually get sick in some way, because your human operating system is not in alignment with the way the universe works. You're not operating in the seasons and patterns that exist. We're here to change and grow, And what you're speaking towards, like that's part of the game that we have to have within ourselves, to like honor that part of our ego, right? Become aware of it first. If you're not aware of it, then it's going to control you, and then surrender to it. And in that surrendering, we can see past it. And in that moment, I would say you're operating from the witness or the soul, and it's pure potential. You can create whatever it is you want, you know? And knowing that things have to change is so fundamental, but it can be scary at first. Like, change can be scary, but I think that's just another program.
Yeah.
Like,
it is
like,
scary.
Think about like when
it is the unknown.
Exactly.
What the fuck? I can't control that.
Yeah.
And
uncertainty.
Like, yeah.
But that is life, you know, and
we try to make it so certain, and we try to like create this world that we can control.
Yeah.
But in reality, it is so uncontrollable that, you know, if you continue to allow your subconscious to create those controllable patterns, like that's when you know something happens that's out of the conditions that you set, that's not within the boundary, that like you react, you get triggered because this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't what I imagined.
Yeah, dude, it's a fucking balancing act. Again, Stoic philosophy, recognizing what you can't control and what you can't, that can bring some peace. But also, one of the key principles of my coaching that I always circle back to is that everything happens for you. Like, there is nothing that happens to you. That simple switch flips you out of victim mentality and into creator consciousness.
It's fucking hard.
I know.
Fucking
take it from
man.
me. Take it from me.
I hate it when I realize that sometimes. I'm like, why the fuck is this happening?
Yeah.
It's like,
when I lost my dad, like, why the fuck is this happening? Like, I'm a good person. Like, dude.
Why me?
Yeah.
Why me? Why do I deserve this?
Yes. Exactly. What is this fucking COVID shit going on? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like,
my job was good. Like,
it's the ego also too, just thinking everything we think everything revolves around us.
Yeah,
we do. That's the nature of our being. That's what keeps us alive. And I want to make sure that we honor the ego for what it is, which is this beautiful, beautiful tool to help keep us alive.
Yeah.
And it does a great job of that. But we're also limitless beings at the exact same time. So we have to understand, how do we balance that, and how do we not think that we are our minds, and how do we understand, you know, how do we balance the mind body soul connection within all of that.
Totally.
It can be really easy to get just super caught up in the ego.
Yeah, man, when you're
way more than the other two.
What do you mean?
Like, way more than like mind, body, soul. Like,
yeah, yes. That's
way easier to get caught up in the mind than it is to get caught up in the body or the soul.
Totally.
Well, the body sometimes, I guess.
The body
like,
with pain.
Yeah, with pain.
Yeah,
and,
which I can speak to
and
as
physical
well.
illness and stuff like that.
For sure.
The soul, that one you really got to try.
Yeah. You do, but that's the thing though. Like, once you do have like spiritual awareness and awakening in that sense, the spiritual ego will come in as well.
Yeah.
That's a thing that I've been deepening my awareness of, and circling back to recently, and seeing how like that had come up over the past few years, because it's a sneaky thing as well, because you become aware of like unity consciousness, right? And like, all things are one, right? That's what capital God is, right? And we're all that, you know, experiencing itself. And duality is an illusion, right?
Yeah.
But
so why do I still gotta pay rent?
But you still gotta pay rent.
Shit, dog.
So like the spiritual ego will come in and it'll like bypass things like oh, I like these emotions are coming up, or like yeah, I got these like material problems, but it doesn't matter, like it's all one thing, you know, like it's all good. But
while you're getting evicted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like it's just not grounded.
and like losing your jobs and all of your relationships are crumbling apart, and you're like, dude, it's fine, we're all just God.
Yeah. I love you so much. I forgive you. Like, okay, bye.
So if like I was just thinking this could be something that's kind of fun to do. Like if somebody comes to you, like somebody that's experiencing burnout, like what is the first thing that you would do with them? Like what are the questions that you would ask them?
Yeah.
Like what does that actually look like? And like I feel like maybe it could be fun to like role play. Like if I'm somebody that's coming to you and I'm burnt out, like how would you treat me?
Yeah.
Do it.
So
dance monkey.
Well, it's quite simple, you see.
No, but like actually I am genuinely curious.
Yeah, for sure. So I need to know this person. Yeah. Like I need to know what are the factors contributing to your burnout.
Do you think that like kind of, I don't think pisses people off is the right word, but can catch people off guard when you then start having to ask them like very personal questions when they're like, yo dude, I just want you to cure my burnout.
Just fix
like,
my problems.
Yeah, just like, yeah, like why are you going into all this other shit?
Some people, yes, and those people I would say aren't ready to change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Simple as that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, I mean, that's a key thing. Like, and that's part of the initial workup, if you will.
Yeah.
Like gauging one's readiness to change. Like, okay, how much is this actually a problem for you? Because if the problem isn't big enough, then you won't be motivated enough to make the changes in your life that are required to get out of that situation. And at the same time, we must have a dream that is bigger than that in order to...
That's bigger than just not being burnt out.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know what studies it was exactly, I forget, but they did studies on mice, and they found that the mice would seek pleasure more than avoid pain, like across the board. And yeah, I think humans are exactly the same.
So
right?
essentially you got to trick your mind into seeking the pleasurable thing rather than just avoiding the pain.
Exactly.
Like you've got to...
Both, but you need to have more, like the dream has to be larger. Yeah. Larger than you, larger than your problems. So that's part of the beginning process as well, as cultivating that, or at least beginning it, you know? Yeah. And it's something we can dial in on as time goes on, right? As you change, you realize you're capable of more, and that dream gets bigger. Yeah. But yeah, really it begins with assessment, you know, which
I did, you didn't read. Would have been perfect for this moment, James.
It's all right.
It's cool, we get to start fresh.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, that would be cool to be able to pull from yours to speak to it. But yeah, just very basic questionnaires that allow me to gauge where's your health at, where's your stress levels, and based off those very simple questions of how you're living, I can identify what are the priorities in your health specifically to move, what levers should we pull to make the biggest difference right off the bat. Because that's the thing with when you're in burnout, like we need to be tactical.
Like you're kind of at like a crisis stage at that point. So
Exactly.
Like what's going to get you out of crisis as fast as possible.
Exactly. What can we change right away that's going to get you out of crisis, create some momentum, and
then build on that.
And then just continue in line or order of sequence of priority, right? And we can quantify the qualitative through these assessments.
Yeah.
So that's essentially the beginning.
Gotcha. So like what does it, I guess, sort of like a timeline look like of somebody who comes to you, and like, I mean, how long would you want to work with them? Like what does the ideal like person even look like that should work with somebody like you?
Yeah. So really 3 months at minimum. Okay. That's the minimum time frame for my coaching container. Because change needs to happen slowly.
Yeah. You can't shock the system.
Yeah.
Well, you can, but it might not go well.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And that's the basis of what I'm teaching is sustainable change. Give you a specific system for you to fall into to change in your highest moments, but especially your lowest ones when you fall off track. Go back to the system, and you have your dream. That's your North Star. You have your a few other principles that I teach that allow you to gauge like what choices should I make next based off of where I'm at, right? But yeah, 90 days at minimum. Starts off with assessment, then I teach the system for change. And it's going to be tailored to the person, what they're receptive to, what's their prior understanding of health principles, really meet them where they're at, because I don't want to overwhelm them, especially when you're in a state of burnout. You're not open to receiving much more, so it's going to be a slow drip of what you need when you need it, and then as you're ready, invite more in, right? But instilling that system in first is pretty key. And then after that, it's really focusing on mindset. In order for change to be sustainable, anything that I teach a client, in order for them to put it in their practice, especially in the long term, we have to have the right mindset, the right stories serving us. Otherwise, like, you can learn all this stuff and like it'll serve you for some time, but your prior programming and the deeper issues in your subconscious and nervous system will sabotage you. And that's my job, to mitigate as much of that self-sabotage that will inevitably come about, as much as possible. Mitigate that process, help you meet your inner critic, your inner bully. We all have it. Yeah. That's a piece of the ego, right? And flip that inner critic, that voice in your head that is always with you every single day. 80+% of our thoughts are negative thoughts, right?
80%?
Oh, more than that. It's like 90 maybe.
That's like, fucking crazy.
Yeah. Negative thoughts that don't serve us.
Yeah.
That it's an extension of the ego that is not,
and so that's
it's not a tamed animal.
That's just part of us, essentially. And so like we have to just realize like that is part of us, and that's okay. That means you just don't listen to him all the
time. You don't listen to it, but what I'm getting at is you can flip that voice into an inner coach.
Got it.
Right? So that you don't need me anymore.
Got it.
Right? It takes longer for certain people, depending how much baggage you have, how deep are your stories, because they come from our childhood for the most part. And they're false beliefs, and we all have specific false beliefs. And through one of the coaching process I employ, the Lifted method, helps identify those beliefs, and you get to meet your inner critic. And on the back end of that work, you can flip that voice into your inner coach and rewrite those stories into ones that serve you and empower you on a daily basis. And the more you practice that, the more you ingrain that, speak it out loud, breathe into it, really slow it down as you speak the story and invite the breath in. I could get more into the specifics of the Unlifted method, but that is how you change those stories and unwind it from your subconscious and your nervous system. And then you can do that for the positive side, right? Speaking the shit that's going to empower you and serve you on your journey of becoming who you want to be and manifesting that dream that you have. You know, what beliefs, what story does that person need? Let's write that down. Let's put that into your nervous system.
Man, that's powerful shit.
Thanks, man.
You've got so much passion, like when you talk about it too. Like it's I hope that this comes across to anybody listening, but just being here, like I'm like enthralled right now.
Thank you,
I'm
man.
like, holy shit. I mean, you know what you're talking about. It's very clear.
I've gone through it all.
Yeah. And like that's it too. It's not like you've gone through everything that you're helping other people go through is the thing. Like you're not just putting on this fucking face of, you know, being the coach or the healer or like whatever it is, like, you know, to make money.
Right.
Essentially, like you're doing this because I was talking about this earlier when we were on our walk, like it gives you energy. Like it gives you life to be able to do this for people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the dream for myself, is to wake people up to their power, right? And every person that gifts me that opportunity to hold them in that way, you know, is such a profound honor and gift, you know, because I learn so much from every person. You know, just person on the street or deepest relationships, you know, there's always lessons. It's all happening for me, right? But I have to remember that. And yeah, man, you asked like ideal clients. Well, I do specialize with healthcare professionals, and those are the people that I'm suited best to serve. And in coaching space, like it's really best to like get as specific as possible. That's what I was trained. But as I've been on this path and leaning into it more, like I want to open it up to more people, anybody who identifies with burnout, really, because I don't want to limit myself to just helping a subset of people.
Yeah.
You know, it's not in alignment with like my vision and my dream of, you know, helping people find their gifts and cultivate the dream for their life and overcome whatever painful, difficult challenges they're dealing with. So, you know, it's, yeah, I like to keep the flexibility with it and honor that sense of change within myself.
Yeah. So, kind of to a slightly different but still related topic, for everybody, what do you think's like the number one thing that everybody can do right now to help with this problem that you were speaking to?
Dial in on your health first and foremost. First step in that.
So like health can mean a lot of things. Like, yeah, what's the first, like?
I'll define that. So 6 foundational health principles are hydration, nutrition, movement, breathing, thinking, and sleeping. Start with that. Like, that's all free except for the food that you buy. But your sense of well-being lies within that. And I think the first step within that is just start drinking clean water. Like, seriously, that is step number one. Because water is the medium in which consciousness exists. You know, that's what makes us human, in a deep way.
What is like clean water in your mind?
Yeah, there's different levels of filtration. I use an RO system called the AquaTrue. RO is great because it takes out all of the toxins, but it does take out the minerals as well, and it makes the water acidic. So you need to add in minerals afterwards. And that also helps make it alkaline again. The reason that's important is just like the pH of your body. Like your body should exist in a slight alkalinity for the most part, other than your stomach acid, super fucking acidic. But yeah, that's I could go deeper there, but besides the point. So yeah, get a good water filter. There's good brands out there.
Is Brita one of those brands?
Not Brita, no. Sorry, no. If you want to use one of the like easy to fill ones, Zero Water is better than Brita.
Okay.
But it is, yeah, that's a great fucking investment in your health.
Okay.
Getting a good water filter. But the next thing I would say, like, what anybody can do is to begin to spend time with yourself. I would not be the person I am today, be able to learn from my mistakes and to be able to love myself without the ability to sit myself in a room most days and be still and be quiet, reflect on my thoughts, aka meditation.
Yeah.
Or contemplation as well is another way you can do this, or even just like journaling, you know. But we must spend time alone and be okay with being with ourselves. That is where self-love begins. And you will have a hard time loving other people and a hard time being the version of yourself that you want to be until you can do that.
Yeah. Loving yourself for exactly where you're at is so foundational, like, to change, and it almost seems counterintuitive if you're somebody who wants to change, but like you have to fully love and accept yourself for who you are right then before the change ever occurs.
Exactly.
Like it at least in my mind, it seems so counterproductive that it's like, well, I don't want to be this version of myself, so why the fuck do I got to spend time with it? Like I'm trying to do
keep
this
moving
thing over
forward.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the next thing that I can add in? You know, but like really, you need to remove. You know, discard who you're not.
Yeah.
You need to realize like what are my unhealthy behaviors? You know, what is the unhealthy inputs in my body, whether it's food, emotions, relationships, your job. And yeah, it's just like fucking sitting with it, you know, recognizing like it's all there to serve you. You in some way created all of this. And you can conversely move out of it and create exactly what you want and become who you want.
Man, when you say it that way, it sounds so simple.
It is simple. That doesn't mean it's not hard.
Yeah.
those can exist at the same time. I try to, like with any content that I make, I try to make it as simple as possible, because that's like easy to digest, but like the truth is most of it's quite hard.
Yeah.
And that's why most people don't do it.
It's hard to put into practice. It's simple in theory, hard in practice.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Because like cultivating discipline is a hard thing.
Yeah.
You know, staying committed and being consistent is a hard thing.
Yeah.
That's really what separates happy and successful people, is they're very consistent with honoring themselves, right? And
like giving themselves the the time and space to be alone with themselves every day and to
express
properly,
themselves like in the way that
give
they're
themselves proper nutrition.
Yeah. Totally.
Like strict in that.
Yeah. But I also like, I want to insert here, like, don't be dogmatic about it.
Yeah.
You know, like 80-20 rule. It's so key. Just make sure like that 20% isn't so toxic that it mitigates the other 80%.
Yeah.
Because I have done that. And and I mean, just keep that balance and make sure that like the time that you do give yourself to not be so strict and disciplined is healthy enough, right?
It can be like really hard to like allow yourself to essentially like fuck up.
Yeah.
Like giving yourself like the time and space to not be the perfect version of yourself for a little bit. But again, like I know intuitively that like I need to do that in order to like essentially allow myself to not get burnt out from trying to not be burnt out.
Yeah, totally. Totally. That's a great way to put it.
Because I've definitely gone that path. I mean, after I came back from Aya the first time, I remember I was so strict with myself about meditating every day and journaling every day and doing all of the little things, and that when I would go a day without doing them, I would then allow it to like fuck my whole day up, which is the exact opposite of what cultivating all of these skills is supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
It's like I went so far the other direction for a little bit.
Yeah.
That I then had to realize like, oh wait, now I'm literally just being strict with myself. I mean, about theoretically healthy things, but almost in an unhealthy way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, any good thing taken too far can be unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
Even water, you know, or healthy food, or even, dare I say, even too much positive thinking, you know, because then you're blind to other potentialities.
Yeah.
Right.
I think anytime you have a narrow focus,
Yeah.
overall does not serve like the best good.
Yeah, totally. It's like, it just needs to be balanced, like narrow focus during specific times, like in your day, you know, like in your workflow, and then opening it up like the rest of the time. And like for me with meditation, I found like my weekly balance is best when 5 days minimum. So you just get this sense of, or I get this sense of being off center. And like I can cultivate it, like say I meditate like 5 days in a row, 10, 20 minutes, whatever. And then come Saturday, I'm like, I don't need it today.
Yeah.
You know? And then moments might come along where it's like, you get thrown off center and you realize, oh, if I had that touch point of being centered at the beginning of my day, I might have reacted a little bit better. And that's a lesson in itself, right? It's like reaffirms that habit.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely. I'm the same way with meditation and journaling, honestly.
Yeah.
Like both of those I'm very consistent with it, but I've now purposely built in this sort of fail safe so I'm not dogmatic with myself that like if I do it 4 times a week right when I wake up, cool, like I'm good. And then if I go like, then if I allow myself to go like too long without it, you know, certain things will happen. I'll react in certain ways that kind of, as you were speaking to, will reaffirm like, oh, I haven't been meditating and I haven't been journaling.
Yeah.
Let me get back to that and like, you know, consistently continue to build on it. But then, yeah, I mean, I definitely got to the point where I was so 7 days a week, every single day, that was not serving me. That, you know, then I'd allow myself to have a shitty day just because I didn't meditate, or I didn't journal that morning, and then I chalk it all up to that.
Right.
Where it's like, no, I just wanted to have a shitty day.
Yeah.
I'm now manifesting that.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes we need that, man. Otherwise, like, how do you learn?
Yeah.
You know, we need the pain teacher.
Yeah, it sucks. I wish we didn't. I like...
Wish was bliss all the time.
Yeah, I do think about that is that, you know, does change and transformation, does pain have to be a catalyst for that?
No.
No?
No, it doesn't have to. Yeah, I mean, circling back to, like, we must have a dream bigger than ourselves versus, what's the phrase? So, like, it takes a dream big enough to prevent a crisis or something like that. But no, like the pain's always there. Like, it's a necessary part of life. And it's our job to find comfort in pain and lean into it, because that pain pushes us forward. But the key is that we don't have to suffer.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this quote that, like, I don't know if this is the exact quote, but it's like, pain is inevitable, suffering is a choice.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, you know, the pain's going to happen whether you want it to or not, but you're the one that chooses, are you going to suffer because of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can learn to love the pain, you know, as long as you're consciously choosing specific types of pain, like a cold plunge or a hard workout or a hard conversation, you know, or just doing something that's like slightly outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Learning to love that, you know, because then you can fall in love with growth and change. But yeah, we need it, but we don't need it. It's a bit of a
double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It's like interesting that you know, like the idea of, you know, the cold plunge, like cold exposure, or, you know, hard workouts or whatever it is like purposely putting yourself in these like uncomfortable situations. It's just to literally trick our brains into, like, I don't know, like being okay with that discomfort, so we continue to like allow ourselves to change.
Yeah.
But like, it's, I don't know, like, our minds are so complex yet so simple at the exact same time. Like, there's so many little things that we can do to trick our minds into, you know, moving in a way that is actually in alignment with our bodies. But we have to be consciously tricking our minds into believing that. Yeah,
exactly. And like realize that you're doing that in the process. Yeah, there was something I want to say, but I forgot.
Well, I think that this has been a phenomenal conversation, and there's not much more that I feel that I need to get out of this, if I'm being completely honest. What about you?
I couldn't agree more, man.
Well,
yeah, I'm very so grateful that you give me your platform and space to speak to my practice and my mission about, and I guess some final parting words are that if this podcast helped a single person to realize their power and relate to my story or your story and find strength, resilience, or inspiration from it, to understand not just like what they can change, but how, then this is a grand fucking success. If a single person has that, then that is deeply fulfilling for me. So.
I would agree. Back to our intention of inspiring people through story and relationships. if, you know, it feels like, again, not that we mention that very often, but that was definitely like the central theme of this. And man, I have so much goddamn gratitude right now for the fact that we did this dream of mine for the last 2.5 years or whatever it's been, finally coming to life and manifesting itself in such a beautiful conversation with so much openness and love and joy and feeling that was part of it. I truly, from the bottom of my heart, cannot thank you enough. Like, I fucking love you, dude.
All the same, man.
All right, give me a fucking hug.
Love you too, brother.
Well, I think that's a fucking wrap. Thank you, everybody, for listening, tuning in, for helping to co-create this thing. I mean, this is not possible without anybody who chooses to tune in and listen, and I hope that people got something from this. And thank you, James. Thank you, Pachamama. Thank you to the universe. Thank you.
Oh, great spirit. Thank you, brother.